the activities are playing out, I encourage you to also call the governor's office. There are clipboards that are being passed around. There's a little blue Gorge page sheets of paper with the phone number to call the governor and a message that you can use. And we're also going to be doing a collective call. We're all going to do a chant into my cell phone, leaving in a message you won't soon forget. And after all the speakers go, and after we do our lovely chant, we're going to have a really great sing-along with Sedgwick Willie Band, who's donating their time and talents to this rally. And at the very, very end, they're going to take us out with some of their bluegrass tunes. Our first speaker today is Tim Norgren, who is a president of the Dows in the Columbia River Gorge. And he traveled all the way here to represent a community that really does oppose Nestle bottling water in their backyard. Here's Tim.
My name is Jim. I live up the river in the Gorge in Dallas. Like most folks in the region on both sides of the river make up the local Gorge community, as we know, started up there. We encourage rural places intentionally, and stay there by choice. Part of that is a preference for calm, for less traffic and crowds, and relatively less pollution, including noise and advertising. As you know, when I was asked to speak in public, even just a few words, part of me wanted to scream like a little kid and run away. But I also realized that this is too big an issue to ignore and run from, because there's a bigger picture than what we can see in the candidates' debates. And what we can look at might look at most like a casual chess move by an outside player to set local residents up for a tragically difficult endgame struggle over resources that should be ours in the first place. That's something we have to deal with. The Gorge was designated a national scenic area because that's what we, the people, agree we hold sacred. We don't consider these mountains to be exploitable resources. And we don't consider these rivers and forests and the clear spring pouring out of the forest floor to be exploitable resources. A woman from Mosier was quick to express anger that Nestle doesn't just want bottled water or the local water. They don't just want that. They want the best water. They want the very best that the Gorge has, and they want all of it. She's got a good point. Communities in Washington have been struggling with low water table for years, to the point that folks buying land in Benjamin and white salmon can no longer drill wells and actually build on them. Folks in the Oregon side have a higher water table. But we found due to intensive drilling, many of the wells are connected. And excessive runoff from agriculture threatens to contaminate wells and watersheds over time. So as access to water becomes a global situation, we have to ask whether we'll source ours from this spring we're gifted with here, or will we buy petroleum wastewater from Nestle in plastic bottles, pretending not to notice our sense of impotence as we shop. Yeah. There's one carrot that Nestle holds out for some of us, which is the idea of increased employment. But we know from experience with multinational players anyway that there's no interest but resource extraction. Nestle's proved that, pumping full throttle during water shortages. All we can reasonably expect are lower wage, non-union jobs where workers feel expendable. No rights, just expendable. And this is just not worth losing our water over, the best water we have. Looking closer into life in the Gorge, you find groups like Citizens for a Local Economy with their Go Local campaign and the Gorge Grown Food Network. They're working to build a better local food system. We also have a great many people who know little about the issues but genuinely don't want the exploitation. They just don't want it. Others know some about it, but they really have time for action. There's one farmer I talked to at the market the other day said this. He said, "I grow food, I don't grow money. I don't think they should be coming in here and taking what's ours to make money. I don't believe in it." You can tell him I said that, he said. Awesome. Add those to multiple faith groups in the smallest Occupy camp in the country, and you find a lot of people that genuinely care about our health, our resources, our economy. Unfortunately, with relatively small populations spread over a lot of different issues in the Gorge, a lot of different townships and so forth, it can be pretty daunting to take on corporate vultures. So I'd like to make it really clear that, contrary to what some folks would have you believe, there's a whole bunch of folks up in the Gorge who are really grateful to all of you to be here, to be banding together, and all the people all over the state getting together and backing us up, taking an interest in what's happening up there. I'd like to thank you all for actually getting in and getting with us to fight this corporate piece of crap. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Tim. That was great. I have to say, I forgot to credit one major organization that had a huge part in this rally, and that is the Sierra Club. You guys are awesome. Thank you. Our next speaker is Barbara Willer. She served as an interim Multnomah County Commissioner in 2010, and she's committed to ensuring our water remains a public right.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for being here. In 2010, I had the privilege to work with a number of the groups that are here to take on the Nestle issue in the Gorge and to meet with the people in Cascade Locks and have a conversation with them. We had a good conversation. I met with some of their city council people, but in the end, we agreed to disagree that selling our water for jobs is not the discussion we want to have in this state. So I'm happy to be here today to support this because we know that we are facing a planetary crisis on many fronts, but none hits home so closely as water. We cannot live without fresh water. It's a shared legacy, a public trust, and a collective responsibility to ensure that our water remains pure and we have access to it, and all have access to it. Selling water to private companies who then bottle it and resell it back to us is wrong. To allow Nestle's or any other company to take water from one of the Gorge's watersheds where fish are currently using it and trucking it through the Gorge, which already has some smog issues, where we have our wonderful sunny days, is not only unnecessary for our needs, but a violation of belief that water is a human right. Bottled water is bad for the environment. It takes up to 2,000 times more energy to produce a gallon of bottled water than a gallon of tap water. Manufacturing America's water bottles consumes 17.6 million barrels of oil each year, keeps us dependent on the oil industry. And about 3 gallons of water are used to produce 1 gallon of bottled water. And not only is it using up a valuable resource, but only 25% of the bottled water out there gets recycled. I'm sure everybody's heard about the islands of plastic floating in our oceans. So not only are we selling a public resource, water, we are causing more damage to our ecosystem and unnecessarily using other resources to create the bottled water. Bottled water presents health and safety issues. Chemical additives in the plastic bottles often cause diseases such as obesity, early puberty, and breast cancer. It's also a waste of money. Bull Run, our beautiful water, there's some of it over there. We have one of the best water sources in the country. We have pristine water to drink out of. Does this make sense that we're going to take our water, sell it to a corporation who ships it somewhere else and then sells it back to us?
No!
And when you calculate the cost for a gallon of bottled water, we're paying more than we pay for a gallon of gasoline, and we all don't like what we have to pay for gasoline. Tap water costs less than 1 cent a gallon. Why are we spending that kind of money? We've been duped by the marketing, by the advertising. It's one of the greatest hoaxes that have ever been played on the American people. Also, Oregon taxpayers are going to be footing the bill for the transportation costs of 200 trucks a day taking these bottles in and out. We already know the budget crisis we have in this state. We don't have money to waste on unnecessary things like bottled water. I'm pleased to say that there are local governments who are doing something about this. In 2010, I joined with my colleagues at Multnomah County to ban using taxpayer dollars to buy bottled water in Multnomah County within the government. Clark County Clark County and Vancouver have also joined in, just in Multnomah County alone, by not paying for bottled water inside our organization. We are saving $20,000. Now we know $20,000 could buy some more beds for homeless families. It could buy some more food. We don't need to be spending on things that we don't need. When I walked by the water fountain today at one of the floors at Multnomah County, it said 46,000, and that's a water fountain that was put in so that people could walk by with their own bottles of water, not buy bottled water. And so that fountain alone has saved over 46,000 bottled water, the equivalent of bottled water. So if Oregon continues down this road of bottling water and selling it, we're breaching the public trust doctrine. This would be the first time a state agency hands over water to Nestle. It's a breach of the public trust that we've entrusted to our elected officials for them to do that. It's basically a privatization of a public natural resource, one that we and other species need to survive. 30,000 Oregonians have told the governor, do not allow this to happen. But as the sign says, he's not taking a stand. He's staying in neutral. We need to ask the governor to advise the state agency that he oversees to not allow this to go forward. The state should pull out of the water exchange process in Cascade Locks. We do not want our water sold to a private corporation so they can make money by selling it back to us at the cost of more than we would pay for it out of our taps. So we need to continue to stand firmly and say no to allowing Nestle or any other private company to bottle our water. I really thank you for being here. Let's keep up the pressure on the governor, and thank you again for being here.
Thank you so much, Barbara. That was wonderful. Our next speaker is Terry Shrunk, who traveled all the way from Michigan to be with us today. Get this down here. She's a founding member and former president of Michigan Citizens for Water Conservation, a nonprofit grassroots group located in north central Michigan. She's appeared in acclaimed documentaries such as Flow and Blue Gold, and the group she founded in Michigan has engaged in over 8 years of fighting to protect waters of the Great Lake Basin against Nestle's bottling plans. Please give her a warm Oregonian welcome.
See all of you here today. It's great. Just keep going together. Let's save the water in Cascade Locks. I live in Mecosta, a small town in northern Michigan. It's located in one of the poorest counties. 48.5% of students attending K through 12 receive free or reduced lunches, and 29% of the families are below poverty level. I understand the economic and job situation that is also facing the people of Cascade Locks and other small communities, and how Nestle is trying to convince the public that it's moving into the area will change that. Let me tell you, it doesn't happen. As Nestle moved into Michigan to privatize our water for its own profit, it announced that there would be no adverse impact to the natural resources. Michigan Citizens for Water Conservation believed then, and it has been proven in the courts, that irreparable harm would occur to the waterways due to pumping by Nestle. Nestle came into Michigan 2 years before residents heard of the plan to withdraw 263 million gallons of spring water per year. divert it, bottle, and sell Nestle's brand, which is Ice Mountain, out of the watershed in Michigan. Nestle spent those 2 years meeting with Michigan government officials, from the governor to the local officials. Upon hearing of Nestle's plan 12 years ago, I helped form the grassroots organization, Michigan Citizens for Water Conservation. And I was its president for 11 years and now serve on its board. Along with Mecosta, Nestle actively pursued other spring water sources, and it now trucks municipal spring water in bulk from another small community about 30 miles from its existing plant. Now I would like to ask, has your governor turned a blind eye like Michigan's governor did to the private international company Nestle, who is here for its own profit and not for the citizens' benefit? If we do not let our voices be heard from the local to state level and higher, we could lose our rights to our waters to private companies like Nestle. Through the efforts of MCWC, lawsuits were filed against Nestle to preserve our water rights in the Great Lakes Basin. It is not reasonable for a large foreign corporation to take the water from the land in communities like Cascade Locks and other small towns. Water seems to go to whoever has the most money, and there are no incentives for conservation, because the more water you take, the more money you make. Nestle was cautioned by the trial judge that it proceeded at its own risk in building its plant. True to form, Nestle pushed ahead in its building of the plant and continued to threaten the possible loss of jobs as a way to strong-arm Michigan's governor and legislators. Nestle claimed to be a good neighbor company to our area, yet it continued to pump at high rates during a long period of low participation and lower recharge, even when there were dramatic impacts and damage to lakes, streams, and wetlands. Lives have changed for the people in Mecosta and the members of Michigan Citizens for Water Conservation since Nestle came to Michigan. The issues have pitted neighbor against neighbor, and friendships have been severed. Nestle has violated our lives directly and indirectly with telephone polling, private investigators, FBI visits to our homes, and a threatened SLAPP suit, which is a strategic lawsuit against public participation against my son. Nestle has affected my family and others emotionally, physically, mentally, and financially. MCWC could not afford expensive lobbyists or PR agents like Nestle, but with strength of morals, heart, and loyalty, MCWC has and will continue to make Nestle accountable for the export of Michigan's waters.
They will be held accountable. We'll seek to.
Michigan Citizens for Water Conservation spent well over $1.5 million on its lawsuit against Nestle. And we have to continue to fundraise to pay our legal and environmental expert bills. I do not want to see this to happen to other private citizens. From my own experience, I know that Nestle fights to get what it wants. Nestle continued to fight the David and Goliath battle with Michigan Citizens for Water Conservation for over 9 years. However, with our perseverance, we won the court case against Nestle by reducing by nearly half. Nestle also agreed to lower its spring pumping earlier during fish spawning and continue low pumping during the summer months to take care of the stress to the already stressed streams and lakes. Even though we won, the lakes and streams will never be the same. I would caution the residents of Oregon to ask hard questions of Nestle and its elected or appointed government officials, and don't take Nestle's word for anything. Water grabbers like Nestle undermines the interest of our sixth-generation residents who live on the lakes, streams, and the public that fishes, boats, swims, and enjoys our lakes and streams. The farmers who rely on our groundwater and industry, our economy, and the tourist industry that are so dependent on our water. Water is our heritage and our culture. It must be protected for future generations, not only in Michigan or here, but around the world. Margaret Mead said it better than I ever could. Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it's the only thing that ever has. You are there to do it. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Terry. And this is why it's so important to kick Nestle out before they get a foothold in Oregon. We need to stop Nestle. Don't let them open up shop. Our last speaker is a lifelong Oregonian who has a love of the natural beauty of the state and believes in the sacredness of our public water resources. Sister Bridget Bauman is a sister of the Holy Names, and the sisters came to Oregon in 1859, the year we became a state, people. They've been here a long time, and have been involved in teaching Oregon ever since. Literally hundreds have taught here and served in parish and social work. In 2008, after several years of investigation and prayerful reflection, the sisters took a stand that has led us to vigorous action to protect water as a sacred gift and basic human right for all. Bridget is an Oregonian, thank you so much, Bridget, for coming to speak. There we go. Thank you.
I love this group. You are so active. You are so involved. Keep it up. Great. How many of you are native Oregonians? Put your hands up. Good. How many of you are Oregonians? All of you are. Yeah. We are Oregonians. And I don't know about your families or what you're doing now, but my family has worked in the Gorge in the wood industry, and we also have enjoyed the many benefits of living in the Gorge, from good clean water like we have here in our fountains, to fishing and hiking, to skiing and swimming. And I want these resources to be available for future generations. I believe it is their right.
Yeah!
Yes. As an Oregonian, and as Oregonians, we have struggled for many years to act responsibly about our natural resources. We have had some good leadership, like Governor McCall, who led us in that whole recycling episode, where we really got into recycling and helped to lead the nation in it. Now I am asking each of you to act responsibly as Oregonians, to send the message, not just one message, messages to Governor Gitzhopper to provide his leadership to this action. Send messages to the members of the Oregon Natural Resources Department to tell them you do not support the sale of our water for profit.
Right.
Investigate the facts. Ask the questions. Is this a good move for our state? No.
Hell no.
Is it looking at immediate gains? Yes. And for whom? Nestle. Or is it considering the consequences for the future? Senator Dingfelder of Portland is the chairwoman of the Senate's Natural Resources and Environment Committee. And she states it allows a private, multinational corporation to use a public resource for economically and environmentally unsustainable practice of bottled water. Many, when I looked on Google, I checked into Nestle, and over half of the places where they are currently have bottling water, they have lawsuits. And Terry told you about the situation in Michigan. It costs. And who is it costing? I learned at Portland State University, follow the money, follow the money. Yeah, and who's going to get the money is Nestle. Who is going to pay it out with lawsuits and and loss of tourism and how many other things we could lose is going to be the state. And so we want to ask Kitzhopper, say no to Nestle. One thing I am sure, that Nestle's most important priority is profit. And at what expense? Ours. Air quality, tourist industry. Will the jobs they promise be for Oregonians? I think Terry mentioned that. No, they bring in people from outside. Are they going to be paying a living wage, or is it going to be minimum wage? What about the loss for our farmers as the groundwater table is affected? Effect on wildlife and hunting, repair of roads, the impact on the Columbia, fishing, barging, recreational activities. These questions do not have definite answers, but I look at Nestle's record and I say no. I do not want this international for-profit company to get a foothold in my state. They get a toehold, and what happens? They have a giant footprint. That's what they leave. And so, even though studies show that most people in the United States do not need bottled water, and surely we don't, we had liquid gold here today. Water from the tap has more regulations than bottled water. We get better water from the tap. That's a known. Studies have shown that. In addition, as Barbara mentioned, it costs a lot more to bottle the water up. And so, follow the money and who has the power. Secondly, I was educated by the Sisters of the Holy Names, attending St. Francis School, St. Mary's Academy here, Marylhurst University, Portland. I am a Portlander. I am a Columbia Gorge person. But I decided to join the sisters who have served in our schools for over 150 years. They have, and Barbara said, what else happened in 1859? Oregon became a state. Very good. Little history lesson. Hundreds of sisters have taught in schools throughout the state. Not only taught, but they have worked in social services, in prisons. They have fought for the rights of workers and also fought for the right to a good education. They taught me to study the issues, judge what was best now and for the future, and act on our convictions. We need to make our voice heard. Good. Voices. More recently, as Barbara mentioned, we made a study of water and water rights, and in 2008 we corporately declared that water is a sacred gift that connects all life, and that access to clean water is a basic human right. Okay, now we're going to come to the questions. Okay, here, you're going to answer yes or no, so be sure you listen to the question. We Holy Name Sisters and Associates declare that access to clean water is a basic human right. Do you agree? Yes, good. Then send a message to Governor Kitzhopper. Use your leadership. Say no to Nestle. We say that fresh water is a shared legacy, a public trust, and our responsibility as Oregonians is to protect it as a sustainable, renewable resource. Do you agree? Yes. Good. Yes. Then send a message. No. Okay. A little louder, please. That was kind of, yeah. We say that all have a right to clean water and that it should not be sold for profit. Do you agree?
Yes.
Then send a message to Kidshopper. Okay, so I encourage you to study the issues, pass the word, decide what is best for us for the present and also the generations to follow, and act. And you have several opportunities here today to act. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Sister Bridget. We had a couple of speakers here today who don't normally do this kind of thing and they came because this is such a big issue that they could not stay away. And thank you all for coming, because clearly it's a big enough issue that you couldn't stay away either. So right now, we're going to learn a really quick, super easy chant, and we're going to leave a message on Governor Kidshopper's line with the chant. So stick around to learn the chant, and I'll shut us down once we got it down, and then I'll dial the number, and when I count down to 3, or count up to 3, everyone do the chant. And also, before you leave, definitely make sure you take one of those little 4th sheets of paper, get someone else to call the governor, and we have a sign-in sheet at the information table back here if you want to stay more informed on the issues. So, it's a really fun chant. It's very simple. Water is a human right. Don't let Nestle win this fight. Water is a human right. Don't let Nestle win this fight.
Water is a human right. We won't Nestle win this fight.
Water is a human right. Don't let Nestle win this fight.
Water is a human right. Don't let Nestle win this fight.
Awesome. I think you guys got it. I mean, it's got such a great rhythm to it. So I got his number actually dialed into my phone here. Okay. So actually, I'm going to say this message is for you, Kidshopper, and then I'm going to turn the phone around, and you guys say it right then. Does that sound like a plan? We'll do it that way. All right. Hello. We have a message for Governor Kidshopper. Here you go.
Water is a human right. Don't let Nestle win this fight.
Win this fight. You don't let them win this fight.
Water is a human right. Don't let Nestle win this fight. Water is a human right. Don't let Nestle win this fight. Water is a human right.
Awesome. I think you got the message. Thanks so much. And we're going to have a chance to do one more chant at the very, very end. And actually, we left a message with a person. I was expecting an answering machine, so that was pretty fun. So they're going to have to relay that message to the governor. And I did tell him that was what, hundreds of people in the park sound like, asking him to protect our water from Nestle. That was, well, we... Do you guys want to do it again and do a voicemail, really?
Yeah! Where's that coward at?
Hello. Can we actually,
He would record this for later.
Start chanting and I'll just dial the number. They're going to let it go through to voicemail, I swear. So.
Water is a human right. Don't let Nestle win this fight. Water is a human right. Don't let Nestle win this fight. Water is a human right. Don't let Nestle win this fight. Water is a human right. Don't let Nestle win this fight. Water is a human right. Don't let Nestle win this fight. Water is a human right.
Okay, I don't think he's going to forget that message for a while. Awesome. All right, so we have a couple of fun sing-alongs set up for you. Let's see. So yeah, are we ready for sound with the, we're gonna do sound check? Okay. So we have Cedra Willie Band here. They normally do bluegrass, but they've agreed to do 3 songs for us right now. The second 2 are sing-alongs, and you have lyrics, and all of those clipboards that are passed around, they're a page of lyrics, and we have, the first song is going to be just Cedra Willie playing, and the next 2 we're going to have Roll On Columbia, with the lyrics slightly changed for our purposes. And This Land Is Your Land with an added verse that they put together for us for this campaign. So please stick around for the music. Actually, and while they're doing the sound check, I totally remembered. Could the folks with the banner come through? And if everyone could stand up, we're going to do a photo opportunity, okay? We want to have the big Keep Nestle Out of the Gorge banner with everyone standing behind it. So it's going to be a lot more powerful if everyone's standing up and holding their signs. So can you guys march the banner to the kind of center here? And if people could move forward too to get right up behind the banner, that would be great. And let's face this way, we're gonna have the photo from the stage. And actually, we brought it up by the cameraman. So could we have the cameraman come up here to take the picture?
I think we have.
Oh, this looks great, guys. This looks really good. Bring it in.
Excuse me.